Right before Gurudev came to Colombia, something very strong happened during the war, and it was a huge scandal in Colombia, and President Santos at that time had decided to stop the peace process for the first time during those 4 years. He said, we're going to put negotiations in the freezer for a while. And that was the time Gurudev came to Colombia.
In 2015, Gurudev played an important role in ending a 53-year-old conflict between FARC and the Colombian government. After his interventions, the rebel group announced a unilateral ceasefire.
It was very strange because things didn't happen in a logical sequence. Like, you will see him speaking to the FARC people and you thought nothing was going on. But it's amazing to see the skill that Gurudev had to always speak to them in positive manners, and how he led them to have a positive state of mind only after 3 days of meeting him. Iván Márquez, the chief of negotiations of the FARC, after those 3 days said that from then on the FARC were going to take the philosophy, the Gandhian principle of non-violence as their own. Some years later, after the peace process, Gurudev came back to Colombia, and I organized for him a meeting with 12 of their most important leaders of now a political party. Not only not a guerrilla anymore, but a political party. And they were all there. And they came from various places in the country only to meet Gurudev at the same time. I think it's the first time all the top members of the FARC united in a single place, and it was only to see Gurudev. So, you know, they have a relationship with him that goes beyond words, beyond intellect, beyond arguments, but that has something to do with the heart, something to do with the soul. And that, I think, is the huge contribution that Gurudev did to the peace in Colombia, is that he somehow touched the hearts of these people and not only their minds and their brains. During Gurudev's first visit to Colombia, which was the time that he met President Santos, some months before that, I approached the government. At that time, there was a minister who handles all other ministers. So I spoke to him, I showed Gurudev's biography, if you want, his HV, if we have to put it somehow. And I told him, you know, maybe we need a twist, we need a turn in this negotiation. We need something different, because if we keep, you know, it's been 4 years now, maybe we need some click to happen. And right before Gurudev came to Colombia, something very strong happened during the war, and it was that the FARC killed some young soldiers that were unarmed, very young soldiers, 21, 22 years old, and it was a huge scandal in Colombia, and President Santos at that time had decided to stop the peace process for the first time during those 4 years. He said, we're going to put negotiations in the freezer for a while. And that was the time Gurudev came to Colombia. And this minister helped us to speak to President Santos and be able to receive Gurudev at that time. But not only him, his daughter also, President Santos' daughter, followed Gurudev on social media. And we approached her and she said, of course, I'll help for Gurudev to meet with President Santos. And so President Santos said, okay, I'll receive the Indian master for 10-15 minutes and we'll talk about peace. And that ended up being more than an hour, because the conversation was so rich, so fluid between them. That was when President Santos asked Gurudev to go to Cuba. I think President Santos recognized Gurudev's work when he invited him to the peace signing treaty, and he seated him on the first row next to John Kerry, who was, at that time, he had been not only presidential candidate in the United States for the Democratic Party, but he also was what we know as Minister of Foreign Affairs of the United States. At that time, the only thing that will save the peace process was for the FARC to declare the unilateral ceasefire. On their side, they were the ones who had to, take a step forward for peace. And nobody had been able to convince them to do that. And that's exactly what Gurudev did when he went to Cuba. After that meeting, maybe 5-6 days after the meeting's end, maybe not everybody knows this, Iván Márquez wrote a message to Gurudev saying, we have decided to declare the unilateral ceasefire. Thank you so much for your insights. So in those texts, it's very clear that they took the decision after Gurudev's words, after Gurudev's meeting. So that saved the peace process, actually. And if peace happened in Colombia, it's because FARC decided to declare a unilateral ceasefire after meeting Gurudev Ravi Shankar. I actually became a politician because I was an art of living teacher, because the reason I became a teacher was that I understood that the purpose I wanted to give to my life was service, and the person who taught me the value of service as a way of creating a different kind of world, not only for myself but for everybody around me, was Gurudev. The main intention that has to be behind any politician, it has to be service. If it's not service, then you shouldn't be in politics. If you want to make money, maybe you can become a businessman, not a politician. Some sacrifices to be made because you somehow have to put your life for the service of others. And the value of service was taught to me by the art of living. When I entered politics and I won my first election, I went very innocently to Congress for the first time, and very quickly, first 2-3 weeks, I just realized, oh my God, where am I? These people, they are so experienced and they are so smart and so intelligent. How am I gonna deal with this? So one day I came back to this Bangalore ashram and I asked these questions to Gurudev. He said, please don't look weird. You have to be as normal as possible. You know, you do your sadhana, you be a yogi, but then when you go to Congress, act like them, be like them. Of course, don't do anything illegal, but be like them, because there's no other way they're gonna trust you. And I think only Gurudev teachings has allowed me to be able to walk the middle path in that sense. I don't understand how the others do this job without Sudarshan Kriya. It's inevitable to do my practices in the morning because that's what keeps my spirit high. That is what gives me most focus. That is what gives me somehow tolerance to everyone. So, I mean, I cannot imagine my life as a politician without meditation and breathing. I just can't.